All right. Well, good morning. Well, we're moving from M building to T building and just kind of getting used to everything in this first couple of weeks. There are two rooms over here in T building. One has computers and the other one has just drafting tables, where I'm used to having a room in M building that has both. So my lecture's always been set up for students, to have access to both, and also because we're transitioning to this kind of flex class, seems to be the room. I'll have to look at changing it over to this. And at some point, we're going to, in the next 5 minutes, maybe, is it, Isabel, would you mind, just taking a minute and heading back over there and just to see in a few minutes if anybody's just lingering over there and not here? All right. So, the class itself, we introduced last week, and we were going to work on something, but we had a nice storm, and by the time we got together, we just presented this introduction presentation. I did record last week, and I believe I posted the link, but if I didn't post the link, you can still go to the Zoom link in Canvas and pick the cloud recordings. And under the cloud recordings tab, you'll see those recordings. I think we had a couple of different ones there. So let's just take a look here. So you would go to Zoom and then you'd pick on cloud recordings. Nope, we had one. So that's the lecture from last week. It included things about the class, and it included this PowerPoint presentation. You can take a look at later. All right. So moving forward, this presentation just kind of introduced architecture and went through some of this. Did you see the sign on the?
No, actually, I just heard your voice.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, you could see that nobody was over there. Was there anyone else over there? Oh, well, off the hook. Off the hook. But I think in another 5 minutes or so, we should do that too. Good. Oh, you can hear my voice from over there. Oh, okay.
Just a little.
I do have a louder voice, don't I?
You're not quiet.
Pretty, what's that?
You're not quiet.
I'm not quiet, for sure. You won't have to ask me to speak louder. And so what we did last week was kind of an introduction to the bigger picture of all the different styles that through time, and we talked about the way that it progressed from one style to another, and some of the big changes that happened over time, that it kind of transitioned us to other things like the invention of steel, and for skyscrapers, or even going back further, concrete for the Romans, and how that transitioned from stone to concrete. So we have some pretty big changes over all of these years. And then we really need to concentrate on you being able to look at a building and say, that's Victorian and Queen Anne is part of that, or that's a certain revival. And most importantly, I think, is understanding those elements that came from history, right? So when I took the history class for a whole year at Lawrence Tech, the guy was like a walking history of architecture book in his head. He knew all these dates and times and all of that. And the whole class was based on us learning about dates and architects and locations, and so much of that I think it was a great class, don't get me wrong, but there's a part of the journey through time and what we can pull from it was lost, because I was studying so much to know exactly what year that person did that. So I'm not gonna do that. I'm kind of avoiding that a little bit. I would rather you understand that it was around that time, right? It was around the 1900s or around 9000 BC. And so we're not going to have any like specific dates. And we're not even going to have, um, specific locations, in this city on that address. But we are going to pull from those times things that we use now. This is my goal mostly. Like, how am I going to relate the history of architecture with what I'm doing now? And then you can use it as a learning tool for your, for your designs and for your knowledge of talking to someone. Like if somebody comes to you and says, I'd like to design a house, but I'd like to have it, classical. What's that mean? What's that mean to you guys? Like a classical style. Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of classical style? I mean, so we're gonna take a look at that. I mean, most of the time that word relates back to the Greeks and the columns with all those different column capitals and kind of that formal architecture. Hey, if you're online, please type in your full name. If you're here, then I'm gonna actually pass around a sign-in sheet. So if you could just put at the top of that, the sign-in history sign-in, and then today's date, and then if you guys could just print your names, that'd be great. Yeah, great. Okay, any questions so far? Any questions? Yeah, this being our second week, we're getting it. We're getting there. Okay. So because we looked at all of that, today we're going to focus on early architecture, prehistory, way back, 9000 BC. With BC, before Christ, way back in time. We did have an assignment that I thought was kind of cool. And I'd like to try that right now. If you're, just take a minute to do this. This was an assignment that I was thinking about doing for last week. We didn't get to it here. So the sign-in sheet is going around. I just wanted to make sure that you're there. And just make sure that everything was good with this assignment, and it's fun. It's going to be a fun assignment. So let me go in there and make sure that we're all good with it before I open it up to you. Right, good. So now that we all have access to, or right, now that we all have access to this is kind of a test to see if this assignment might work in this class, being that we're in different places. I would like you to have access to a computer. If you're remote and you're on your phone somewhere and I'd like you to make sure that you are at a computer or able to, access the files. So this is the idea. Let's have fun with this. We talked last week about all of these different styles that are out there. It is crazy how many styles are out there. Someone asked me one time, how many are there? There's like endless amount. So what the idea is behind this kind of supposed to be fun assignment is to click on assignment 1 right there. I just opened it up, so you may have to kind of like go back into it. Click on assignment 1. We're not going to be bored in this class, guys. I don't want to have like this lecture with you guys not doing anything as we move forward. And then click on this timeline right here. And it should bring you over to this file that I started. And everybody should be in there. So here's the idea, that we work together to post different different styles along the way. And we might collide here in some ways. We're all in this one file. But I think together we can create a document that that has all of the different styles in the different time periods. So this is where we only want you to put one. Yeah. While you're over there, can you check?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's what she was probably doing. So guys, we only want to have one timeline. So go online and do a search for art history, architecture timelines. And you'll see a timeline. So if you go over online and you do a search for something like you can decide on what the title is, timelines, and then you could go under images and you'll see all these different timelines, right? So the idea behind this is that you are going to create one slide that has a timeline on it. So you pick something randomly, you know, we only have so many students in here. If we get two of the same one, let's just make sure that it's a different image. But what we're gonna try to do as a class, it's kind of, think this is kind of fun. If you, let me just say, if you take this one and you copy it, let me just take a look, paste. Allow, okay, so I think I made it to where you can copy a slide. So, we're gonna have a bunch of these, right? So if you take one of these two slides and you click on it, you right click and you pick copy. And then you click someplace in here and you right click and you paste it, right? And then when you get that file right there, what I'd like you to do is to click on this image and like just delete it. And then you're gonna change the text and put your name in there and pick a time frame, but maybe, you know, like, I'm not gonna tell everybody to go pick like Greek architecture, because then we're gonna have like 10 Greek architecture. If you see somebody else that has it, I'm not sure exactly how this is going to work, but I want to, oops, not green. So let's say I decide to say this is a Greek architecture, and then down here, I'm going to put the location. So location, like roughly where it's at. And if you have the architect, if available. Oh, wait, I didn't spell that right. Okay. And then you put your name right in here, student name. So we're gonna put the style up here, the architectural style up there. Okay, so this is supposed to be like a shared kind of fun project for everybody online or in the classroom. You go over and you decide on, go look at this long timeline. Guys, I told you from last week, there are 1,000 different styles in there. So find an architectural style and then put the name of it and put one or two photos. It's okay if it's one, just do one. We'll just do this first round with just one style. And then you put your name there and you put the location of it and based on the timeline, and then you can hold your left mouse button down on the slide and move it, move it to the right period so that everybody has did I move mine? I moved mine way down here, or somebody else moved it, there. So I started off with that top one as being way back, like 11,000 BC. And then I went all the way to this last one here, which I think, I don't know if this is someone's already. No, I'm gonna pull this one down here. So let's let's keep this one as the last one, if we can. I'm gonna probably have to do that because we're all adding, but that's okay. That's okay, it doesn't even have to be. So, the idea is that we're all kind of making this, we're kind of all making this timeline together. It's gonna be a big file, but I think if everybody puts one slide, how are we doing? Yep, you go, look up timeline. And then oh, there's a little dip right here in the floor. Be careful there if you're walking. It's not, it's just like the concrete goes up. So any questions? Any questions? You can use the computers that are in here or use your own. All that I need really is the name of the style, the, location and architect, if it's available. And then your name, and just do one. Anyone online, you guys have any questions about this? Let's see where we're at. You may have to turn your speaker on, and I don't know, if we can hear you. Hey, Tatiana, can you talk to me, like turn your, speaker on and see if we can hear you?
My speaker?
Yep, gotcha. Okay, cool. Thank you. You can turn it off. Microphone. I said speaker.
Microphone speaker.
I get those mixed up. I shouldn't though. Microphone. So we can hear you, so that's good. If I'm walking around the classroom, helping people or just talking to like you might have to turn your, microphone on in order for me to hear you. It's too bad they don't have classrooms over here that have both. This doesn't look like, it feels like we should have both, but maybe product development didn't need that. How are we doing? Is this kind of fun? I mean, it's kind of fun. You're looking at the timeline, you're looking at all these different styles. You're deciding on just one. Don't do more than one. We'll see how many we have, and if we need to go, we'll look at them and then we'll go back. And if someone else has already done your style there, you go on, you're like moving it around. Everybody, we're just working together. And so somebody already did your style and you look, oh my gosh, there's already one in there, then do a different one or leave yours in there. Hopefully we won't have like 5 Greek ones but we, based on our presentation last week, you saw that we have styles like, what was it, blob architecture? It's strange how many we have. And then like move them around on the timeline so that we can, get a good sense of the timeline because we have, we do have access to all these different time periods, and this is a little bit of a learning experience for you as well. Oops, yeah, for you as well, because you're looking at the time period and you're picking up where it goes in that frame, and then we're going to look at it and talk about it. This is something I was looking at doing last week, but we're doing it this week. I think it'll be fun. So give you a minute to go back and do that. I'm opening up a couple of documents here as a way to, yeah, I'm getting used to this room too. Let's see here. Now, what we did, we created something like this the last time I taught this class too. to see how many time periods we have and, to kind of like go through those a little bit. So I have kind of a beginning list here of those things. Hey, it's kind of fun, right? In case you're not familiar with it, there's a kind of a copy paste. The thing about being online and looking for, pictures and things is that, sometimes you have to click on the image and then when you're, have your pointer over it, when you right click and you pick copy image, that's one thing you can do. But there are times when you go to save image as, that, it might not be a JPEG. Cause sometimes they want to exclude you from, from saving that file. So how's it coming? Is this good? Let me see where we're at. Let's just see over here where we're at. All right, good. You're moving things around, making sure they're kind of in kind of the right time period. You make sure that the style is up there. You've got some photos in there. Good, good. This is our first assignment to be able to work together like this on a document that has a little glimpse of all of those time frames. Was that hard to do? Was that hard to do? No. Okay, so let's add one more. Right. So everybody find a different time period, a different style, and put the name of the style, put it in the time frame, put your name on the bottom so everyone, we can keep going, honestly. We're only gonna do 2, but with how many are out there, guys, we could just all do 5 different styles and still, well, it gets to a point where you're really reaching to find other ones, but if you go look at some of the timelines that are online, you'll see that there are so many. And then if you click on different timelines, you'll find different styles. Everything from brutalism and deconstructionism. If you look at the list, there are just endless amounts. We talked about some of them last week with the Art Nouveau and the arts and crafts, and then wow, and then you think about all of those different houses and styles we looked at last week. All right, so let's everybody put a second one in there. It looks like everyone's pretty good about this. You can ask questions if you need some help, just raise your hand. I'll, come help you with it. It's basically copy, a right click, copy paste, and then modify the slide. And now we're going to have this kind of really nice document that we've all put together to walk through time as a introduction to, a glimpse of each one. And then during the semester, we're going to concentrate on each one and do some hand sketches. And each student will then have their own presentation. It looks like we've got a couple buildings that are duplicates. So we're working together, guys. If you're pretty good at this, you might be that person to go find a different one and get rid of the one that you did. You don't have to feel like you have to do that all the time, but this is where you're like looking on the timeline and finding something different. If there is the very same picture, we're going to need to delete that out, find something else. You know what? You can, if you want to stay with the same style, you can, but a different photo. There's more photos than one of each style. So if you're if you're really into this Romanesque time period, take that photo out. You know, you're working with other classmates, it's okay. And then on your slide, only your slide, right? And then put a different photo in there that's of the same time period. Right. Kind of cool. I'll have to send an email right after class and see if we can. How do you, are you good? This is a better, do you think, I think this is a better room. We have access to both learning styles and right, we're able to do this. I'm just gonna go check one more time, make sure. And I am gonna request that that clock be fixed because it can't be 10 o'clock all the time. All right, let's just take a look. Oh, okay. I better send an email because I feel like I'm going to, somebody's going to see them. I mean, well, let me see who's here. And he's not here. That would be a good idea. While you guys are working on that, I'm gonna go over here. Okay. This might actually, yeah, it might also give you a glimpse of, for yourself, of all the different time periods as well. Oh my God, the printer, good. That's kind of nice, although we do need to get back, I think, to, we need to get back to our, bigger printer and our color printer, and our scanners, we have so much over there. I'd like to, you know, bring over here, hopefully this is our room that we can kind of not take over, but. All right, let's take a look at who is here and who's not here, being that we're supposed to document this in the first 3 weeks to make sure that everyone is attended. If you're not here in the first 3 weeks, professors will potentially drop you. So make sure your professor sees you or knows that you're in the class or takes attendance or that you did something substantial to say that you're, you know, that you're there. Okay, so let's take a look at Veronica is here, Isabel is here. Wait. Yes. Thomas is here. Let's take a look here. This is what everyone, you know, this is like kind of the thing is. Oh, I didn't share my screen with you guys. Sorry. I know that you're online, so you might not, maybe you might not need that, but I think it's good to share my screen with you. Um, so is, um, Josiah, 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 I don't see you online. I just want to make sure that you're not here. Dylan is here. Got it. Ava is here. Bryson is here. Tessa is here. How about Zamaria? Zamaria. Not online, not here. Catherine is, Catherine? Oh, I'm sorry, we just said that. I'm sorry. Yes, I knew that. Andrew is here. Madeline. Madeline is online. Gotcha. Ryan is here. Cami is here. Surya. Are you here? No. Um, Ashton. I don't see you here online. Ashton is not here. How about Robert R? Gotcha. Lisa is here. I know you go by a different name, but your name starts with,
Jenny.
what's it?
Jenny. XHEN.
Yeah, you said Jenny?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I got you from last week too. Red. Thank you. Glad you're here. Madison is Madison? Is Madison here? I don't do this very often, but last semester I kind of missed a couple of classes and I needed to do some no-shows and I didn't do it. So Jolene. Sounds like a good name, a good, because, what's that?
What?
It's a good name, a good, song. Nicholas, are you here? How about, Tatiana is here and Michael W? Michael W is not here. Okay, so I'm going in RAKAN. Hey, while you're out there, can you step across the hall, please? RAKAN. Okay, so here are the people that are not here. I'm just gonna give you another chance to kind of like say that you're here. So RAKAN. Josiah. How about Zamaria? ZAMARIAH. How about SURYA? Ashton. And, Madison. And Jolene, Nicholas, you, Michael, W. This is, so what's been happening at Macomb, this, so this was a big deal at a huge conference with all of us in a, like a, conference, 300 plus people in it, was, this escalated people who sign up for class, get the funding, and then are, they're coming into the classroom to get some money, but they're not like finishing the class. So they're pushing us in a good way to keep track of who's in the class for the first 3 weeks. How are we doing? All right, let's see. Let's not have more than one, image of the same thing in here. We are looking good, guys. I am loving this for sure. Good. And, so moving forward, does everyone have two slides in here with the different time periods? Yes. I'm a little concerned about someone coming late and looking in the classroom and not going in and saying that, we're here. And then I think I'm going to put a, sign on the door. I don't have a, all right. All right, good job, guys. Look at all those. Did you learn a little bit from this? A little bit anyways? Like you're looking at the timeline and you're picking up the photos. At any time, you can kind of like browse through all those different styles that are so cool. Uh, since we're new to this room, if you haven't discovered it already, if you need to use the bathroom, the first hallway is a ramp going up, and at the top of the ramp are the bathrooms. They're pretty close. Although the vending machines are way over on the other side. So if you want to bring something to drink that has a lid on it, and keep your area clean, then that would be good as well. Anybody need more time? How we doing? Okay. So this is our assignment one. I'm gonna go through and kind of check these out to see that everyone did it. But at the same time, let's take a little browse through history with this shared file that we all have. And you did put like kind of a rough time frame, and you move your slide around to be kind of with the other students, kind of a collective, collaborative project. And I'm gonna go ahead and start this really quick slideshow because everybody can see it. So it's not like we need to really view it, and because we're going to be going through these time periods as well. And so we're not going to specifically talk about them yet because this is the kind of thing we're going to go through this semester. It's going to be a fun semester looking at all of these different styles and learning a bunch of different things that have happened in the past. It's pretty interesting, all the things that have gone on over time. Okay, so we have these styles, right? You're right, there is the federal architecture here. It looks like it's kind of a revival of the Greek. As we move forward, you'll see that we have, this one it probably should be like over in the beginning there, and make sure your names are on these. We do have this kind of representation of Japanese architecture and Baroque. We're going to look at other examples as well. Byzantine is kind of cool because if you look at it, it's got domes that are on domes. So it's called dome on pendentives. We'll look at that as well. What a great picture there. Wow. Nice. Beaux-Arts and Romanesque. One thing about Romanesque architecture would be the arches that you'll see on the windows, and also these concentric rings of arches. You see the main entrance there has these kind of like arch and arch and arch going back in different levels. Do you guys see that? That's a really big Romanesque feature. So all of these have these different styles. This slide should probably be way in the beginning, but I know everybody was moving them around. We're going to take a look at this one today as we move forward and kind of pick up post and beam construction. This is our classical Greek architecture, and the Parthenon is the perfect example of it. Way back then, they had all these ways of looking at architecture that were very creative, very creative. Baroque and Rococo both have this kind of classical, but a lot of decoration. You see how it's starting to get really kind of saturated with more decoration. Romanesque or Gothic. This is starting to look a little more Gothic. So it's a little bit of both. I don't know if this specific building would be categorized as Romanesque or Gothic, but when I look at it, I think it's kind of like the high Romanesque and the beginning of Gothic. Why do I think that this is Gothic? What do you think? One thing, like just,
Buttresses.
well, you're right about that, the structure itself, but also what's the other thing that you would see in Gothic architecture potentially? The pointed arches. The pointed arches are a huge part, but the roof as well. So we're going to look at the difference. There's a fine line there where over time transitions have, where you look at a building, it's like, okay, it's got this and it's got this. So what is this? Kind of like a chameleon of it all in it, but we have, no, so this is like that Gothic style that has these flying buttresses, which are these buttresses here that we're gonna take a look at, like how it shifts the load, and so the wall becomes lighter. And that's where you see these huge stained glass, openings, but also the pointed arches as well. And then we'll look at a lot of other things too. Beaux-Arts and Georgian style, really symmetrical. There, Baroque, you see kind of like this decoration that's starting to come up onto the classical styles. We also have, this is a great slide, the Tudor style that we see this kind of timber type of construction that has a couple of examples here. This is good. This is good. We have Brunelleschi's dome here, and this is during the Renaissance architecture. We're going to take a look at how architects become, more philosophers and looking at perspective drawings, and it's kind of a big shift for us as well. Georgian architecture, you see that a lot in Grosse Pointe. You drive through Grosse Pointe or Mount Clemens and you see all these different styles for sure. Victorian, mostly Queen Anne is a part of that, and we'll look at some of those details as well. Gothic revival, and then this is kind of like those new Zaha Hadid's design that's more organic and modern for sure. Contemporary architecture over here. I actually did this one in Revit. Can you imagine? One of my students wanted to do this in Revit, and each one of the panels was curved. And if you haven't heard of Revit, it's a 3D modeling tool. We created different colored glass. It was really interesting to be able to, to do this in a 3D solid modeling tool. All right, cool. Oh, more here, the Tudor and Victorian, along with Mies van der Rohe. Hey, when they sold that house on the side, I think it was like $1.7 million for this Mies van der Rohe house over here. There was a homeowner that was selling it, and the historical society wanted to grab it before it got changed from its original rate, which it is right here. And the use of materials on the left side, which with Mies, we'll take a look at his architecture as well. Classical style, country style. That's cool that you brought something in. Craftsman style. I like craftsman style. There's a lot of wood features, bringing back that arts and crafts. Art Nouveau and Art Deco. This is a great example in Detroit, the Guardian building for sure. No, this one is interesting. I have this one, the type of building, but you can see that it has a little bit of Romanesque and Gothic in it. And so there's this fine line between the two. Expressionist architecture. So yeah, what a great project to bring us all together to look at that timeline. And did you see that there are thousands of styles out there? We could probably go another 3 or 4 times to kind of like, we won't, no worries. But it was kind of like a exploration of different styles. So if if you didn't get a chance to put 2 in there, make sure that you do for that assignment. Okay, cool. Any questions about all that? Yeah, kind of an interesting way of us all working together, to do that. All right. This is, I don't know, translated. Okay, good. So it is being translated. So what I'd like to do is to, start here the prehistory, conversation. And, when we have, most of what we're gonna do is hand drawings. And we are going to have a couple of quick quizzes that are based on the things that we've already done. And it's gonna be all open notes and open books. It's more about you picking up this information than memorizing all of it, right? Like, I think it scored me a little when I at Lawrence Tech for that year. I had so much studying to do on things that I forgot, like within a month after or less. Cause I'm not gonna keep all those dates up in me, but the thing is that I did take away from it the image, the idea of it. So when we're talking about Neolithic period, you probably saw on the timeline that it began way before, this, but around 9,000 BC. So any quizzes that we have, they're not going to be timed, right? You're going to get the document and have like a week to work on it. It's more about research and the knowledge of it. And what we took from these images or these time frames. So as long as you have access to this information, and you work on the assignments that we work on in and out of class, you'll do really well in here. All right. So the megalithic builders developed 2 important structural devices used in architecture still today. So I'm concentrating on what we're taking away from these time periods. And you know that before this, we saw a lot of like just huts and caves and like man-built structures that didn't last, because over time, we wouldn't still have them. So the things that did last were these stone piles that were like shelter, right? So this isn't something that would just could naturally happen. Someone built this and had an idea of this post and lintel or post and beam construction that we use even today, where you just had 2 large stones and one across the top, just like our door openings are. And then we also have this corbelling effect, which we still use on our drawings when we have brick that is pulled out so far and has this kind of like stepping of brick like this. When this kind of arch was created, you have these stones that kind of come out from each other and have that corbelling. You look it up, it's actually a term that we use, today. So look at this, like this isn't something that's like natural, some like people created this. There's a lot of thoughts on aliens and things like that, but overall shelter was created from this, and we see a lot of stone walls like this that are made up, and some of it's been destroyed, but there's still like reminiscences of like things that have been left behind here. And I personally am not gonna like memorize everything in history. I'm not my history professor from Lawrence Tech that had everything in their head, but I think if you walk with me through time, you'll be able to see these images and kind of get an idea of where we came from. Other beginnings of artwork in the stone or piles of stone that make up structures. All right, Stonehenge. Stonehenge is this image right here that we were, looking at the cool, like incredible thing about this, it was built years ago. And I think what I'm going to do here, let me just do this here. Okay, let me figure out one more thing here to do. So we can take a look at this side by side a little bit more. Right. You guys did that. And I'm going to open this up. So that I can have them side by side. Here we go. So I'd like to show you that we have a picture of it here. And then we have the idea behind it there. And you guys have the slideshow that you can look at online. I'm posting everything that we're talking about. But take a look at this structure. It's organized, it's planned. We, way back in 3000 BC, there is some order to this, some master planning, some urban planning, if you'd say, right? Where we see that there's a center, an altar. We have this horseshoe plan with these stones that are supporting those horizontal stones laid on top. This little like circle of upright stones and this outer enclosing circle that's 106 feet in diameter. Look, you can see it back there, but if I go a little further, there's the floor plan of it. Showing here this large circle and this kind of arch shape with the altar here. So there's planning involved. This little markers that are around this outside as well. So these things are 13 and a half feet, and there's a lot of talk of like how they were created. Some people think that there was an outside source, what Kay said last week. But if you go online and you see that there are videos of people using pulleys and leverage, maybe a lot of them, a lot of people all together did that, but I think that some kind of lever or pulley system probably helped to get those on top. Oh, here's that outer circle right there. Look at that master planning in place. Wow. There was a ditch that went around this with this large focus of a stone here. When the sun came around, it hit this and the sun came right into that arch. Wow, right? Like that is planning from that long ago to have this kind of ceremonial, they think, place to have these rituals. They even think that maybe there were people on top of the stones that would dance, around and then like a sacrifice potentially on this altar stone here. So we don't know the whole story, but a person standing in the middle of Stonehenge can see the sunrise just above that heel stone that I was showing you, which is that main one right here. So wow, master planning in place, and what an incredible structure. Has anyone been there? I know some of you guys travel, maybe your parents have, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna draw this, right? So we want to draw this right now. take a minute to get your paper out, and, this will be one of our first, sketches. You have paper here. We're going to create, several hand sketches that will keep us, informed. And our first sketch, and if you're welcome to, if you'd like to buy a sketchbook, you can. I think creating individual 8.5 by 11s and then pulling them together into a digital portfolio would be, of your sketches, would be great. I'm letting you guys decide on this, right? But today, this is something that we're going to hand in. We have a couple of sketches that we're going to do today. And so what I'd like you to do is to use this 8.5 by 11 landscape or portrait. I mean, if you think about it, maybe all of your drawings are portrait and you're developing a book of these. However, I'm pretty open about this. It's more about you hand sketching some things. Because I think in our field, we really need to be able to hand sketch. And if you can't, it's not a big deal. Everyone has different artistic abilities. I'm not looking for to be like a top artist or anything like that. Architecture has transitioned to so much digital that, being able to hand draw is important if you're working with a client or you're putting together a sketch of a project. But it's so crazy because, my architecture students at Lawrence Tech, I was teaching there for about 7 years, and I offered this really cool DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts, like pencil that had all this cool historic architecture. And one of my students said, I don't need that. He's like, he had all these devices. He had a laptop, he had a iPad, he had like his phone. He's like, no, thanks. I don't use a pencil anymore. Okay, so I think that that's extreme, but it did happen, and I really do believe that we need to still hand sketch, and it's important in your, at least a little bit to discover things. So draw this, what I'm thinking, just one sketch, but if you want to do two, that's okay too. But at least one that has this whole master plan, right? So draw the bigger circle around. Maybe you just start with a big circle. Like this is a hand sketch, right? And then draw this heel stone right here. And then you'll out here, and then it comes into this kind of arch right here of stones that also has a circle around it. So you see how there's like a outside circle here of the ditch. There's look at that. Who has a compass in their backpack? That's awesome. And then this right here is the other ring of stones that a lot of people don't realize. That
Do we have to use that picture exactly?
No, good question. You don't have to use this picture exactly. What would like you to do is to at least draw one image that is a reflection of this layout. If you draw it in 3D, that's okay, but if you draw it like this, but you get the big circle around it, that's the ditch with the heel stone that goes right into this arch. You see where the heel stone is up there? Yeah, let's take a few minutes to do this. This is kind of a quick sketch that you can kind of enhance later on if you'd like, because we're creating this documents of what you're learning, and you're online. Everybody's online, so you can go in and look at all the other images that are part of this this presentation that I posted. I think, guys, I just want to make sure, but I believe I have it. I think I do have it online, right? I have I opened it up, I just wanna make sure that I opened it up. Wait. Let's see, where is this canvas? And I'm going back to our class here. And yeah, so I did, publish the prehistory Egyptian, presentation. So you can open that up and, take a look at some of that in order to get an idea of the layout. I do have it showing on my screen, but there are a couple of other, slides that might describe it a little bit more. I don't think everyone really knows, how extensive this master plan is, as you look at it. There is another slide that talks about this being a form of some kind of sun worship. If you think about it, the sun's coming around and hitting that heel stone and coming through that arch, right? And if there's some kind of ceremonial thing, could be part of that sun worship, where people are getting together and celebrating something. And this is so early in life that we see these kind of community celebrations or potentially, what's it called when you, right, I just already said it, when you sacrifice, something, and I don't want to say someone, but it could be, elevated walkway for some kind of ritual, an astronomical computer for the prediction of both solar and lunar eclipse. So these are all the predictions that are on the next slide. Builders had mastered basic units of measurements in elementary geometrical construction. Architecture established sophisticated principles of planning. This is like the first, or at least an idea of one of the first plans, like planning that was involved, for us, like urban planning. How are we doing, guys? If you want to use, I mean, you can tell that I'm kind of flexible about all this. I would prefer that you don't use line paper, but if you do, then it's okay too. I am good with that as well. I mean, these are your sketches. I just like you to hand draw, some of these things that we've discovered. If you want to work on it now, or you want to like start it now and then finish it later, this is good. I just looking for you to like grasp what this is, the significance of Stonehenge in our early planning about walking through history here. Right. So any questions? Pretty cool. We see a lot of planned events and people getting together at things like the Coliseum. We'll be taking a look at, but this is early. This is early kind of community master planning. Okay, so while you're drawing that, I'm going to talk to you because you'll still have it in front of you. You're on your computers. Gonna kind of move forward. You know what to do. So in order to submit this, I don't need you to submit it today, but as a guide, I would prefer you to submit these couple of drawings that we're doing today, by next week, right? So we're starting it today. You might as well finish and be done and not have to do anything between now and next week. But the best way to do this is for you to snap a picture of it and submit it online. It's really a great way for me to grade it. But you know, if you prefer to finish it and show it to me, I could be open to taking the picture myself. You can see I'm kind of trying to be as flexible as I can to your learning style. So let's say you work on it today and you want to just show it to me. I can take a picture of it and put a check mark on a list and give you credit for it, as I will be for you being here last week. All right. Any questions about that? My preferred way of you handing in things like that we do in class would be for you to take a really good picture of it and post it online. That way I have a place that I have it and I can see it and download everyone's and then grade it online. We as professors are all required now to have an online presence. We are required to have a Canvas in all of your classes. We're required to have your modules on there and your grades, your grading scale, and your syllabus. If you see that any of your professors don't have that, I need to know. Let me know so that I can help them through it. A few semesters ago, I learned that one of the professors was still documenting everything hand, hand and nothing was in Canvas, so we need to like look with that. Okay, all right, any questions? So on one of these, I'm going to continue talking about the next step as we move forward. Here, you can see the image yourself online, so I'm gonna go forward and leave that one over there. Or which one should I leave on? This one, probably? Which one is the better one to leave up? Left? Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna go forward here. Yeah, these huge 13.5 foot stone pillars or posts and beam became, like I had mentioned before, started artwork. One called Carhenge here, we talked about last week, and another one here, Bridgehenge, as we move forward. Okay, taking a look at Egyptian architecture. You guys, have probably seen movies with the pyramids in it, and you kind of have an idea of what Egyptian architecture has, as a part of its, its style. Believe their rulers were divine god kings who would ascend from the pyramids to take their place among the gods in the afterlife. You've probably seen in movies like, what are some good movies out there? I think, I forgot what they're all called, but there's a really good one that represents the pyramids. Any you guys remember? Type it online if you remember. Yeah, The Mummy, for sure. The Mummy movie even had Imhotep, one of the first recorded architects that developed some of the like a master builder of some of those early pyramids. And a couple of other ones like I can't remember, but Mummy was a good one too. I think Tom Cruise did a recent one that was back in that time period. The earliest pyramids we don't even see. They're early burials that were just like sand pits and just like little mounds. There are a bunch of them along in Egypt along the river there. And so the first kind of construction was not really called the pyramid, it was called a mastaba, where these kind of flat base slope sides, flat roof or pyramids. You'll see some of the drawings here. You guys, I'm gonna move forward in this one as well. You kind of have an idea of what you're drawing. So I'm going to move forward to talk about it and show it to you here. So we did start to see that there's this, kind of ascending to the heavens, the monumental architecture that was symbolic and suggested kind of a stairway, to the skies for the pharaohs, where they would, move and ascend to the sun gods. And so the very first, pyramids that you see were just mounds of this type of, kind of flat structure called a mastaba. It was a little bit different, design, but these are some of the ones that were left behind. This one's 204 feet high, and you can see the structure of it, like the stepped pyramid. There are a lot of theories on how these were built as well. We'll talk about that a little bit. But this King Zoser was buried below the ground in the chamber, lined with slabs of granite at the bottom of a 92-foot deep shaft and sealed with a 3-ton granite like plug. So you probably know from Tomb Raiders and Mummy and those type of movies that they needed to secure the burial grounds because a lot of thieves were, stealing from them. So the first pyramids had the kings and pharaohs buried down in the ground, but then later the design came up further into the pyramid, kind of closer to the sky and the heavens. This was kind of the biggest complex here, the funeral complex of that great King Zoser, 2750 BC, where you see a full layout of kind of a master plan in place with a large stone wall of 33 feet and some, artwork there showing the images of like the pharaohs. All along the river here, the Nile River, you see all of these different kind of mounds of dirt that were left behind from the discovery of all of these different pyramids. And some are just kind of like this, like mounds of hill, but you can kind of see a little bit of where those images are left. And then you have something like this that doesn't even look like a pyramid, but there's enough that we can tell that it was at one time. Okay. And so Imhotep was one of the first recorded architects, and so there's some movies that actually have him as a character in it. I forgot which one. Was that the Mummy movie? I don't remember, but who used these sun-baked bricks in his design of these huge blocks of cut stone. And let's just go forward here. Okay. So the entrances had these 2 rows of half columns attached to the piers and supported a massive stone ceiling. Inside the entrance of this King Zoser are among the first columns in the history of architecture. I think I'm going to go ahead and do this, right, so that we don't have two different ones. All right. So what do you think? We have all these beautiful columns that we're seeing, half columns, and the first form of a column that's holding up stone. Although we did see the post and beam, big stones of Stonehenge, which could be also considered a column. But we really are starting to now take a look at the column capitals. They're called capitals, guys. The top part of the column. Hey guys, these are the type of things that are going to be on the quiz. What's the top of a column called? A capital. Right? A column capital. And in your conversation with clients, if they're, looking for that kind of design to be able to know the language, it's important if that's the direction that you're taking. So the columns were like these stalks of decorated flowers and made of stone. The capital is the crowning member of a column, so you'll see these beautiful, beautiful decorative, column capitals in the Egyptian architecture. Looking at this photo, you can see how it kind of like comes out as a curve, and not a lot of it survived, but these type of images come out of that great hall that might be in the pyramids of Giza. Look at how beautiful that is, right? And that's massive as well, as kind of the grand entrance into where the tombstones are. Egyptian construction, we talked a little bit about this. The pyramids evolved from vertical narrow piles abutting each other and ascending to these massive cores, instead of the traditional masaba. We see these built layers that are what we know of as these pyramids. The pyramids of Giza that we're going to be taking a look at, the three that are very well known to us are these three here. Now, we've had projects where at some point in this class, you're going to do a little bit of research and kind of your what you think happened during these different time periods, and this could be one of your topics, because there are at least 3 or 4 different theories on how these pyramids were built. Did you hear of any of these? Anyone?
Well, the theories, the conspiracy.
Yeah, there's both. There are both, like how it could have actually been built, and others of what, that other ideas of how it was built. Did anybody hear of any or watch any movies on it? What you got? What do you have? Anyone? Anyone online? Did you guys have an idea of how these are built? What?
I mean, the most commonly accepted theory is that they would have created temporary ramp-like structures in order to raise the stones to the height necessary, and they were deconstructed after.
That is the theory that is the most widely known and acceptable, is that these huge ramps were created and potentially wrapped around the pyramid as they were building it, and then moved and shifted. And you may have seen this in a movie, which we've had so many movies of this, but you'll see if you look deeper that some will have other theories of how it was built, where they didn't use ramps, but that they use the different levels of the pyramid to hoist the pieces up. I don't know how that these are really large stones, or that it was created by an outsource, like aliens that came to Earth to help out. There are movies like that as well that kind of suggest that we had another source that came in. So many attempts were made to create these structurally and failed, and that's why you have so many along the Nile River there. They successfully did create this equilateral triangle with this perfect 52-degree incline, and these are the most famous, these pyramids of Giza. Materials used are sun-dried and kiln dried bricks, fine sandstone, limestone, and granite. The original pyramids had a very smooth finish, not like this. It's decayed over time of that, limestone to look more perfected. Houses were built of timber or sun-baked bricks, but have disappeared, and only the temples and tombs constructed of durable materials have survived. All right. So what's inside the pyramid? This is interesting. This is our second sketch, the pyramid itself. So grab another piece of paper. I'll leave this image on here. This is our second image. Guys, when you're sketching, make sure that you put the name of the structure on it. Like the first one would be Stonehenge. And you could put on that first one that we did, let's go back to that one. Yeah, so we want to, put here that it was, somewhere around 3000 BC. And so now our second image is going to be the inside of the pyramids of, oh, well, actually, this is the pyramid of Khufu, which is part of the main one in, the Giza. So it is Giza. Pyramids of Giza. Let me see where we're at here. Sure. Yeah, right there. Those are the three pyramids, and this is the information about it. I'm going to talk about it while you're drawing it, but because I have two slides here, one that has it. I just want to here. So this is our second. Um, so so sure that we have the right slide in here. There it is. Glad that you can see it. Okay. So it's interesting what's inside these pyramids, because when it was originally built, the tombstone was built down in the dirt, right there. So over the time period of this being built, and that's what I don't have in the slide, but I know it was around the 2600 BC. Let's see, do I have it in there? 2600 BC. Oh, I don't have it in there. That's weird. You see it? I'm gonna have to add that unless it's in here. Yeah, it's around the 2600 mark. You probably saw it in your timeline. Going to need to, let me just add that. Oops, why is this not in there? Okay, where it is? There it is. It's starting with King Zoser, we were talking about, 2750, and that's around the time period, but 2600 even, came the pyramids of Giza. But there's like this full range, but you can imagine it would take a long time to build something like this over time. Let's see here, so I need to add that here someplace. Let me just insert it. It's text. See here, 2600 BC. Oops. And of course in Egypt, there it is. All right, so 2600 BC, Egyptian architecture, pyramids of Giza. This is one of the three the king chamber. But here's the story. Here's the story. The story is that in that time frame of hundreds of years, because there is a range of 2600 BC to 2500, so it's like a big range of time of how long this was to build. The king's tomb started in the bottom there, and then over time, they imagined that they put it in the bottom to protect it from the thieves, but eventually came up a little bit higher into this triangle and then ended up right in the middle, basically in the middle there for the king's chamber. And so the lower chamber became this false tomb. It's a false tomb, and look, it's got pathways to it. It's got different pathways to kind of like throw off the thieves during that time. And then going up a little bit more over time, and then leaving it to go even further and ending up in the middle is the Queen's Chamber. So this is a pretty big complex. I don't know if there, I mean, I didn't know at one point in time that there was so much going on inside the pyramid. Has anyone been inside the pyramids?
You can't go inside the pyramids.
Right. Well, I'm sure there was a time when we could, but as a, way, but yeah. So, or been around it? Have you seen it? I haven't been over there. And there are some things that in this full range of history that I'll know more than other things, like this pyramid. I haven't been there, but of course my Lawrence Tech professor was there and like knew everything about it. So the false tomb, the Queen's Chamber, and then finally the King's Chamber at the top. There's this large grand gallery, number 4, that comes up to it with passageways. And also that King's tomb has these layers of stone on top of it with this kind of pediment triangle at the top, and thinking about the weight of it going around and protecting the King's tomb. We also have these air passages that are coming out of the side, and there's a lot of theory on that, what those are. Some people think that just to get to bring the air in to protect the temperature and the control of the temperature around that. But most people are thinking that these air kind of passageways are so that the spirits of the pharaoh would be able to escape and ascend to the heavens. So your sketch will have not only the pyramid, but also kind of either the names of each one of these areas with like arrows pointing to them, or you can use the number system. It's up to you. It's just documentation that we have these types of planning in place for the pyramid. So originally, the Great Pyramid, originally 482 feet high on a plan that's 760 feet square. There's a lot of mathematical conversations about how it was created. The theory is that the stones were hauled upward on an elevated series of tiered ramps. We were talking about that. Inside the pyramid, you'll at first the burial chamber, King's Chamber. Below was the false tomb. We talked about that. And during construction, we went higher. We had the Queen's Chamber, and then later in the center, right, because its space was 34.5 feet by 17 feet in plan. and 19 feet high. That's pretty big. Builders were concerned about the pressure of the stone above it, and that's why we see these kind of stone beams across it. Look at how big that is, right? It's 34 by 17 feet. That's big. That's a big space for a barrel. Probably also through the stories that you've read, you'll see that they put everything else in there. His servants and all of his belongings to kind of go with him. So maybe that's why it was so big. All right. A total of 2 million, right? 2,300,000 blocks of limestone and granite. That's a lot. The average block weighing 2.5 tons. You've seen movies of all of the workers that were involved in the Pharaoh's big plans to bring this together. Have you seen those? Those are kind of cool when you see in the background thousands of people like Moses. What was that one? 10 Commandments is a good
Yeah,
movie.
why they put those two together didn't make sense to me.
Which one?
Why they put the pyramids and Moses and the Ten Commandments?
Yeah.
Totally different eras.
Good question. Look at all these good questions that come up, right? And it was a very, or still is, a popular movie that I haven't watched in a really long time, but you're right. It was the pharaohs that was a part of the,
And
the Moses that was.
and according to the story, sure they lived in Egypt, but not in that time. Egypt was almost 10,000 years, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's like these pyramids were as ancient as they are to us when we talk about things like Tutankhamun or Cleopatra in the days of the Romans and Ptolemaic Greek.
that's true.
Like those things were as ancient. They were actually more ancient to them
Mhm.
than they are to us.
When you think about the timing of this and
Yeah.
when it happened, you'd have to take a look at when the events
Right.
happened,
Yeah.
BC, during this BC time.
Like these things are all even like pre-Greek.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Then there's a lot happening at the same time as well. That's why it's so hard to document history, because there's things happening in this area. There's not much happening in the United States as far as architecture goes, other than the settlers, starting later on. And, you look at the whole time of movement and people, but this is before Christ, and the story of Moses with the Pharaoh and all of the building of the pyramids and the structures. So I guess it's a lot of time before, right? Yeah. So you'd have to look at those time periods, but that's an interesting point, right? But think about how big these were. In the movies, you'd see these millions of people that are working on it. Do you ever see in the movie how they hoist some of these? Especially when we look at the big obelisk or the big towers that they put in place. A lot of people to put these together. The base of the pyramid covers 13 acres with a length of each side originally 754 feet, so it's huge. Original height was 481 feet, and outer casing was polished limestone. Taking 20 years to construct, well, I think more than that, but 20 years. The average number of blocks placed each day was estimated at 81 blocks per day. 81 blocks, 2.5 tons each. Huge, huge. So that's your your second sketch, which is the pyramid here in Giza, and during that time frame of 2600-ish BC. We also saw these temples that had the first of these kind of columns that had pharaohs, sculptures here at the entrances, and
Here's some drawing, or some photos of those great sculptures that were Egyptian. You can see the columns in the background, so they're sort of like tulip.
Okay. Now, we're also like coming towards these larger complexes that had this central axis that would run down through the middle of the temples. These big pylons would flank this entrance, and so there was this I forgot how to say it, but I think it's hypostyle hall that was defined by building or space with this roof or ceiling that rests on the columns. The aisle led to the sanctuary where only the king and priests were allowed. So you have these structures that were built as large temples to the pharaohs, Egyptian. There it is. You see a lot of those recessed artwork on those big pilings. And this is our obelisk. It's like this obelisk, this stone pillar. This is another drawing that you would see and know that it's an obelisk, is a stone pillar, especially when built as a monument. It's square at the base and has the sides that are tapered with this kind of pyramid top to it. You see this built during the Egyptian time, but you'll see some more recent ones as well. And that's another project we're gonna work on. Like taking images like this in the pyramid and finding examples of those during modern day time. You'll see some over in Paris as well as other areas. Okay.
That specific obelisk is in Paris, isn't it?
There is one in Paris right by the Louvre
I
over
was gonna say,
there.
like, didn't they take it from Egypt?
You know, there could be a story like that. Was
Yeah,
it
I
moved?
wanna say they took one like from Egypt.
Okay.
That's the one in Paris.
I'll have to take a look at that. There's a lot of research over there. I wasn't aware of that, so I did see it when I lived over there. But the history of it, that they moved it or they built it. Cause I always thought it was built as a modern day built to represent it, and not the original one, but that's a good question. That's a good question. All right. Oh, so I did include here, so this is our everyone good with the second sketch, kind of the inside of the pyramid, those two slides. All right, so I did include some examples of our pyramid, like we use it for the food chain, we use it for like the different food groups, and you see it in different the stepped pyramids in different forms of modern day architecture. If you've been to Las Vegas, you might have seen this building there in Las Vegas on the Strip in Nevada, representing the Great Pyramid. So we see this in a lot of different modern times, as well as this building in Dubai, representing the pyramid, and we might take a look at some of the other forms of pyramids. Here, take a look. It's pretty grand and looks like the pyramid, Egyptian pyramid. The Louvre in Paris, that's done by IMK. I spent hours here when I lived there, just in that space. It's really beautiful. This glass pyramid, as we'll get to it as we walk through time, and some other modern day pyramids here as well. Okay. And then I did include also this
the skyscraper in San Francisco showing this type of pyramid at the top a little bit anyways. All right, looking at all the pyramid structures over time, taking a look at the sizes, different sizes, you can see how the pyramid of Giza and the size of it, how they all kind of relate. You can see that they're getting bigger and bigger over time. And there's that, the one in Las Vegas. And, this Transamerica building right there. And that last one, that hotel that we worked with. So they're all proportional, but you can see that they've kind of grown, taller. Here's, that hotel, that tall, really tall hotel, and it has kind of like that pyramid shape, 105 stories skyscraper in North Korea. So, we see that some of these shapes that we've learned over history have kind of been borrowed and brought into modern day architecture. All right, so we're starting our discovery through time. Each week we have, and you will survive. It is great, you know, when we look at the history, we pull from it some terms that we still use. You get a little more knowledge of what might have been left behind. Maybe you didn't know a whole lot about Stonehenge, and now you can have a conversation about it. In a 16-week period of time, talking about all that is in history, we're not going to be able to cover everything. And there are some gaps of, as you can tell, like, of things that have happened that, like, we question and maybe we research. It's up to you to take some of this and go look. Like Brian brought up a really good point. Now I am curious, and so I'll go research. Was that, you know, is that obelisk in Paris the original one, or did they build that as like kind of a remake of it? Because there was a lot of preservation and a lot of restoration. Did we make a modern day version to look like it, or is it the original one, right? So that's what happens as you go through time and look at some of this architecture, and you question it, and you look, and your curiosity takes you over, and then you go research it and find out these things. So I'm hoping that this class will inspire you to kind of like take a glimpse of these important buildings that we are still working with today, and learn from it, explore it, do a little research ourselves, and little hand sketches as we move forward. That's how the semester will go. Mostly projects together, projects individual, comparisons. We're going to do a project where you can compare two styles or two architects. You decide. I don't want you to decide right now because we're not there yet, but you might think that it would be interesting to write about, you know, what, you know, the differences between some maybe classical Greek and now the revival of Greek, or different architects. I did that when I went to Lawrence Tech. My study was to study a couple of architects that had similarities but differences, and my research led me to understand both of them and find out that they actually met each other. I found a picture of it, so I'll share that with you later, but you know, we do learn from each other, and we do learn from the styles that are around us now, but also all those styles that have happened in history, the history of our architecture as well. Any questions, comments? It's a wonderful world to explore, isn't it? Of all of these different shapes. Okay, next week we're going to move forward to take a look at some of the Greek architecture, which is cool, right? And even maybe transition into some Roman architecture. I have started the class in the past with modern day architecture, and then I went back in the past, but I switched it up a little bit. I taught this class for about 10 years.
And each time I bring in something else or I do it a little bit different way. So this is the first time I kind of thought, okay, you know what? Let's just start really far back and like work up into now, right? I don't know why I thought it might be good to start off with what we're doing now and then go back. And it just, as I was looking at it online, I'm thinking, you know what? It just makes more sense to start this 9,000 BC and then kind of follow through time. So I have a pretty good outline of what we're going to do in the next 16 weeks. We'll make our way up to these, modern present day architecture as well. So you might really like Greek architecture, but some of you might really like modern day architecture as well. Everybody's gonna kind of like find their own way there. All right, any other questions?
Turning our drawings through canvas.
Yeah, I mean, it's better for me if you take a picture of it, like refine it and take a picture of it and post it in Canvas. I like to be somewhat flexible, especially since you were here in person. If you feel like you're done with your drawing and you just want to hand it in, you're welcome to put your name on it and hand it in, and I'll take a look at it and give it back to you next week. Or look at it if you stick around and maybe write down that you did it. You see how flexible I am. I appreciate that you came in, face to face, although I'm trying to create kind of a flex class. So if you're here, your advantage might be that you finish your drawing and you show it to me and I give you credit for it and you're done. Right? Right. Just make sure that I have your name written down, that you did it, and that you keep your own files. Keep everything that you do in here. Because if you see like 5 weeks from now that you don't have a grade, but you showed it to me, you don't want to tell me that you threw it out. I've had students say that to me in the past. Like, wait a minute, okay, you threw it out. Why would you throw out anything that you do in class? That's your documentation that you actually did it, right? You didn't even take a picture of it or whatever. So, yeah. All right, guys, have a great week. I'm going to take a look at our room changing to C106. This seems to work out better. What's your thoughts on it? It seems to work out better that you guys can do a little bit of research and that, we can use the computers, but we can still hand draw and you can still look at the image. So I'm going to stop the recording as long as, let me see here, stop the recording.